One of the new features presented by Blizzard when it released the Zereth Mortis patch is the Cypher console of the First Ones. By progressing in it, we learn the lost language of the First Ones and discover the secrets of Zereth Mortis. And something characteristic of Zereth Mortis when you enter for the first time is that you don't understand anything of what its inhabitants say, the Automa. Firim, when accessing Zereth Mortis for the first time, also realizes this detail, but in his eagerness to discover the secrets of the Automa, he tells us,
I observed many types of Automa of varied sizes and shapes. Guardians, builders, collectors, and a more petite variety that seemed to revel in duties of upkeep and repair. Besides an unwavering devotion to their obligations, these Automa shared another notable trait: their language. They spoke, not in words I could understand, but in tones and echoes. Know that I, Firim, am renowned for my linguistic skills. Though arrival in the Shadowlands imbues mortal souls with a knowledge of the words of death, many retain memories of the languages they used on their worlds. And what is language if not a system of sounds and patterns, I ask you?
Blizzard, in its presentation on what's new in Zereth Mortis, describes the language of the First Ones as a runic and musical language. As we progress in our knowledge of the Cypher console of the First Ones, we discover the runic concept of this language when we unlock Pokepok, in which each rune ciphers to a letter of our language. The musical concept of that language is observed every time we interact with an Automa and listen to the language of the First Ones. In Firim's words, the Automa spoke in a kind of tones and echoes. But Firim, in his texts, made a great analogy by comparing this characteristic with that of any language, since isn't a language itself a system of sounds and patterns? The letters of any language are nothing more than graphemes or runes, which have a certain sound associated with them. The language is built from phonemes, which are the sound of the letters, and, subsequently, we create graphemes, or runes, which represent them in written form. To sum it up, the pillar by which any language is built is sound. Then I remembered the tweet posted by Steve Tharnusa just after Blizzard made public the preview video of the development of patch 9.2. Steve Tharnusa himself responded to that tweet with Ulfirim's famous quote, "So much awaits discovery in the geometry. So many truths lie in the intersections. The fractals." At that moment, and after learning how a language is constructed, I noticed a detail in that tweet. It was accompanied by a sound similar to machinery in operation. After seeing the association of runes with letters as part of the written element of a language, and knowing that every spelling has an associated sound, from which the spoken component is built, I thought, could it be that the 12 runes that appear, while hearing a sound, is Steve Tharnusa's way of putting us on the trail of the musical language? Maybe the 12 runes symbolize the 12 sounds of musical notes, sounds from which we create music. Perhaps the musical language of the First Ones is built from the same principles from which we create our music. I was really amazed that such a connection could happen, and inside my head it was not strange after seeing how, throughout the whole expansion, every time they talked about something related to the First Ones, terms such as harmony, melody, anthem, dissonance, voices, or song, among others, appeared. Without knowing it, I was about to walk the path of Ulfirim when he says,
But the key to interpreting the writings of the First Ones lay in setting aside what I had believed and accepting a greater reality beyond it. Suddenly, I perceived the pattern and its fractals not as one truth, but layers of intersecting truths.
Our music is built from the 12 musical notes, which are divided into 2 groups. The 7 natural notes corresponding to the white keys of a piano. The 5 altered notes corresponding to the black keys of a piano, which, unlike the natural notes, do not have their own name, but their name is conditioned to the natural note that surrounds them. Both the sharp and the flat are accidentals, a symbol that is placed after the name of a natural note, to indicate that the pure sound of the note is altered, that it is a little sharper or lower. So in essence, music is built from 7 unique sounds. The number 7, and more so after Ulfirim's ramblings about whether there are 6 or 7 forces in the cosmos, was already starting to look suspicious to me. I thought it was too much of a coincidence that the first one spoke a musical language and that 7 notes existed. Coincidence, or was there a truth behind it? As I said at the beginning of this video, Blizzard presented the progression system of the Cypher console of the First Ones as a tool to understand the language of the First Ones. As I looked at it, I saw that the runes were grouped into keys of understanding, whose names, using a bit of intuition, were reminiscent of concepts related to music. The first key of understanding that we see when we open the console is called Cypher. By doing a simple Google search, by putting Cypher and music, we find the musical cipher, which is the way that musicians have to encrypt the name of the 7 musical notes by the first 7 letters of the alphabet. This cipher has its origin in ancient Greece and evolved until the letters of the Greek alphabet were replaced by the Latin alphabet in the 10th century. The cipher column contains 7 runes, the same number as the musical notes. Bas Salim and Treblim share the same suffix, alim, and a different word or lexeme, bass or treb. One of the qualities of sound, and therefore of musical notes, is their frequency. Those sounds that have low frequencies are called bass sounds, while those that have high frequencies are called treble sounds. Or seen in another way, the high-pitched sound has a higher frequency than the low-pitched sound. In music, both high-pitched and low-pitched sounds are fundamental. High tones can sound brighter and more exciting, while low tones are darker and richer in nuance. As with the previous clefs, both words shared the same suffix, enyan, and their word or lexeme varied, sopra or alto. The word alto is related to an opera singer. Knowing that everything revolves around opposites, the opera singer opposite to the alto is the soprano. The soprano voice is the treble female voice in harmony, and it usually carries the melody in an opera concert. Conversely, the alto voice is the lowest female voice of the harmony, and in choral and operatic contexts, the contralto line usually provides support and expressiveness, from the comic to the tragic. If the Bas Salim and Treblim clefs, encoded by means of the opposites, low and high, a sound quality such as vibration frequency. The sopranian and alternian clefs encode through opposites, another quality of sound, timbre or tone color. Timbre is that by which we differentiate one instrument from another or one voice from another. Generally a high-pitched voice has a thin or clear timbre, the soprano voice, while a low-pitched voice will have a thick or dark timbre, the alto voice.
With her voice have I spoken.
When I discovered the meaning of the Bas Salim, Treblim keys, and the alternian sopranian keys, I realized that I was walking 2 opposite paths. The path of light formed by the high vibrations, the treble sounds, and the soprano voice. The path of darkness formed by the low vibrations, the bass sounds, and the alto voice. Realizing this, I remembered the words of Ulfirim when he says,
These 6 forces existed in strife. Well, not strife in the way one such as you or I would see it. Opposition, surely. But whether malignant or benign is unclear.
Bearing this in mind, the cosmological map of Chronicles is corrected by the speculator Talora in the grimoire of the Shadowlands. Isn't it curious that in doing so, the opposition between the 6 cosmological forces is emphasized by the contrast between light and darkness? Or that the symbol of the Ouroboros, the eternal return, is represented by 2 opposing serpents, one luminous and the other dark. Was I just beginning to understand the reality of WoW through the eyes of the language of the First Ones? So much for this first video revealing the truths behind WoW on our way to find the truth of Azeroth. I know that for many of you this video may not impress you much, and that what I say does not seem to go beyond mere curiosity or coincidence, but as I said, I ask for your patience. Patience not only to wait to see all the videos before forming an opinion, but patience because the path will be long and will increase in complexity and abstraction as we advance in it. If you are not subscribed to the channel, it is time to do it, because only through the channel I will be announcing the next videos as well as revealing more truths that will allow us to understand other truths, as if they were layers of truths.
All truths.